Chris, Lee and Blayne Gilmer of Southeastern 14 here to preview Tennessee's road trip to Missouri. Vols have not played much on the road this year, and Missouri's been pretty good at home. The line on this one is we're doing this on Sunday night, according to BetOnline, is a pick'em with an over-under of 59.5 points. That means the predicted score would be a 30-all tie. They don't allow ties in college football anymore. Obviously, so that's interesting. You don't see many pick'em lines. If you're looking at computers, everything gives Tennessee the nod, even with the home field advantage. You've got SP Plus has the Vols by 2, FPI Vols by 3, team rankings and Sagarin both have Tennessee by 5. So those four computers average Tennessee as a 3-point favorite, which illustrates it. Kind of an interesting thing that I've been noticing for a while, Blayne. Missouri has played better than the computers have predicted it to play for most of the year now, really since, I guess, mid-September when Missouri was kind of pedestrian and finding its way. And the odds makers have reflected that accordingly, giving Missouri a few points here in this one that the computers are not.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri just brings their lunch pail every time they play, right? I mean, they're that type of blue-collar type team. They're very physical. I think people underestimate their physicality a lot of times because, I know that they've been around since 2012, 2013, whatever, when they came over from the Big 12 to the SEC, but it still seems, Chris, that you're still learning a little bit about Missouri as a team in the SEC, and they're not always in the spotlight. But they've been in the spotlight this year, and they've really shown people that they're a physical ball club. Got to give Cody Schrader a lot of credit. But I put in the graphic down there, these are two very similar ball clubs because if they can run the football, they want to run the football on you, establish that, and then they have talented weapons on the outside that they can stretch the field with. I think they're both very active, bring a lot of pressure, force a lot of negative plays defensively. So these are two teams, and there's a reason that Vegas sees them that are very similar. There's a reason that they see it as a pick'em because these are teams that kind of, they say styles make fights. Well, these two teams are kind of looking in the mirror, Chris, if you ask me.
Yeah. I said Tennessee hasn't been on the road much. Actually, this will be the Vols' fourth road game. I forgot that game against Kentucky, which Tennessee won, was in Lexington. So it'll be all at home for Tennessee after this week. But first, they've got a pretty tough trip here in this one. And this preview is sponsored by BetOnline. The last of major pro sports leagues is off and rolling. College basketball ready to go as well. BetOnline remains your top spot for all your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions. All the hoops betting action along with every sport available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to the BetOnline site today. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. I think a lot of what Tennessee will or won't be in this game will be dictated by Joe Milton. Tennessee averaging about 35 a game, Missouri giving up 24. Vols averaging 6.3 a running play, 7 yards a pass, even on a pass play, that is, turning it over 1.3% of the time. Look, Tennessee just beat the daylights out of UConn last week, and Missouri had a very different challenge in going to Athens. But Missouri's defense solid, not great, and we'll see if Tennessee can kind of bottle some of that success it had against against UConn last weekend, although 2 of those touchdowns actually came on defense, Blayne.
Yeah, I mean, they were opportunistic. We'll see what happens there. But here's the thing. This Missouri team is not afraid to put people in the box and, 8 men in the box and say, hey, we're going to try to thwart your running game, and we're going to play man coverage with Enos Rakestraw and Abrams Drain out there on the corners, and we're going to bring pressure. Okay, and here's the thing: they were able to get pressure on Georgia, who had only allowed 6 sacks all year coming into the game. They got 3, so they got 50% of the sacks that Georgia held out all year in that game. So can they get after, especially at home with that crowd noise in their favor and all that kind of stuff, because they still got a lot to play for. They're playing for a 10-win season and all this kind of stuff. Can they get after Joe Milton? Tennessee has done a good job of protecting Joe Milton. One, Joe Milton can kind of protect himself, Chris. When you're a guy that's that big, you can kind of shake off some hits. And also, too, he's very mobile. He can run well. But if they can get to Joe Milton and at least pressure him and make him not throw in a clean pocket, that's going to be a big step for this Missouri defense. Now, we know that Tennessee, just like Missouri on the other side, if they can predicate things by starting with a run game early, and Jalen Wright has been getting better and better as the season has went on for Tennessee, they can get that run game going, and that's where the tempo comes, and that's where they're able to take your crowd out of it, because they're moving so fast and your crowd's seeing, oh, well, they're getting another first down going right down the field. That always helps, especially in a road game for Tennessee. And both these teams, have played well on the road at different times. Tennessee probably should have won that Alabama game on the road, and they both have beaten Kentucky. Both these teams have on the road. So Joe Milton, no stranger to operating on the road, but how active will that Missouri front be against this Tennessee offensive line?
The Tigers under quarterback Brady Cook have been balanced and efficient and good at not turning the ball over, among many things this year. Missouri turning it over 1.2% of the time, while the Vols forcing turnovers at a 2.1% rate. Missouri's averaging 6.6 yards per play, 4.8 rushing the ball, on running plays to be more precise, 8.3 on passing plays. That's fallen a little bit recently. Tennessee's been really stout defensively, and some of that's been the schedule, but the Vols only allowing 4.7 yards per snap, and Tennessee also gets after the quarterback, 30 sacks. Missouri does a decent job protecting Cook, allowing 16. What are we expecting to see when the Tigers have the ball? I know Luther Burden will be a headache for the Vols, and I say that for the Vols. He's a headache for anybody, Blayne.
Yeah, he is. I'm curious to see how good his ankle's feeling after that game. He did tweak it, but he went out for a short period of time, but he came back, finished the entire game. But again, I've said this before, when you're in the heat of battle and you got some adrenaline going, you can sometimes push through an injury and go through. But then when you get out of the game and get out of that arena, so to speak, and that adrenaline kind of wears off, and you're like, man, my ankle may be a little bit more hurt than I thought. So we'll see. We'll look for reports out of that. Hopefully he is just fine. But they have weapons across the board, whether it's Mookie Cooper, whether it's Theo Weiss, Cody Schrader, just absolutely the way that they're able to run that outside zone, that stretch play with such efficiency, that just gives people trouble, especially when you go sometimes in 10 personnel, one receiver, one back, no tight ends. They got 4 receivers on the field, and then are still able to do things formationally and run that stretch zone play. So that's tough to defend. Tennessee continues to be without a couple of linebackers, and then, of course, Kamal Haddon out for the year. So they have some injuries on defense, but they still have plenty of guys up front, whether it's, Aaron Beasley. Then, of course, you have Tyler Barron on the edge and James Pierce Jr., who get after the quarterback as well. So I think it's going to be an intriguing matchup. Brady Cook was great with his legs against Georgia. Can Tennessee prevent him from hurting him with his legs? Because that is a big deal to be able to extend drives and get things going there. They have the home field advantage here. We'll see if Tennessee, I think it's all about, can they create some of those negative plays early? Can they force Brady Cook to be uncomfortable in the pocket? If not, I think Missouri could have a nice day offensively here, Chris.
Yeah, and to note, Tennessee's had at least 3 defensive touchdowns this year that I can think of. Again, 2 last game. I know they had one where they picked off Spencer Rattler, I think, and ran that one back. There may be more that I'm not thinking of. This is off the top of my head. So got to be careful against this defense. They can not only turn you over, but they can make you pay for that once the ball is in the hands of their guys too. Okay, some miscellaneous stats. Tennessee has been, I think, the most penalized team in the league, 70 yards a game. Penalty yards. A lot of those have happened on the road in hostile environments, it feels like. I know cue the narrative on the Alabama game a couple weeks ago for sure. That was a hot topic. Special teams. Tennessee's are pretty good. The Vols are pretty explosive in the return game with D. Williams ranking 32nd nationally in SP Plus's special teams rankings. Missouri 79th. Remember, they've got Harrison Mevis, who hit that 61-yarder to beat Kansas State. Special teams have been a little disappointing for them with the talent they've got there, but they have been rising in those rankings lately, I have noticed, so there's that. All right, Blayne, when it gets down to it, I think, honestly, I would have picked whichever team was the home team here. I think if you play us on neutral field, Tennessee is a little bit better, but it's not on the neutral field. It's in Columbia. Those fans will be stoked for this game. I know Tennessee, it feels like it's kind of dominated this series recently, and the scores have been a little bit lopsided. I know the last time the Vols went to Columbia, that one got out of hand in a hurry. That was kind of Josh Heupel's coming out party as an offensive genius at Tennessee there. I mean, he's done some good things other places, but my point was that was kind of their breakout game, if I remember correctly. But I think this is a different Missouri team. Again, I would take whoever was at home. And in this case, I'm taking Missouri because Missouri is at home.
Yeah. I just wonder is sometimes when you play the Georgia Bulldogs the week before, you can get beaten twice, not because of your, not because of anything mentally, but man, you've been banged up physically. You've been in a war, and Tennessee was in a game against UConn, which was not a war. So I just wonder how fresh Missouri is going to be. Also, they did put a lot of into that game emotionally and mentally, because they had a bye week to prepare for Georgia, and then they were in a 4-quarter game with them. So I just wonder how much of a toll that's going to take. I do think they'll get a boost being at home. But I just think Tennessee will end up. I think Tennessee will end up making more plays offensively. I think Joe Milton is getting better. I know that's something that, and I've been a harsh critic of Joe Milton. Everybody knows that if you've been watching this channel. I think they'll end up making enough plays and being able to kind of hurt Missouri a little bit with that tempo. Plus, I just look at the series history, and Heupel has had a lot of success against Drinkwitz so far. So give me Tennessee to win a close one on the road.
All right, got a lot of content coming up here at Southeastern 14. 2 of our favorite basketball fan bases are Tennessee and Missouri, and so you guys will like a lot of our content. We got previews for week 1's hoop content. Best way to get that, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell a friend. God bless you guys. Have a great day, and thank you for watching Southeastern 14, presented by Bet Online.